Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we're really digging into something that's flared up quite suddenly. It connects right back to the Afghanistan withdrawal in 2021. But it's happening now.
Yeah, it's Bagram Airbase. That piece of real estate is back in the headline.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Our mission today is to sort of break down the geopolitical fallout, the military side of things surrounding Bagram.
It's definitely more than just real estate, isn't it? It's loaded with symbolism. We're looking at this pretty stark warning that came out recently from President Trump about getting the base back.
Right.
So we'll look at the statements, the history, that messy U.S. exit, and honestly, the huge challenge it would be to actually try and retake it.
And we have to start right there with the hook. The source material makes it crystal clear. This wasn't some quiet diplomatic note.
No, not at all.
The warning came Sunday via Truth Social. And it was, well, blunt. The message to Afghanistan's current leaders was, if Afghanistan doesn't give Bagram Airbase back to those that built it, the United States of America, bad things are going to happen. All caps on the bad things.
Wow. Yeah, that definitely grabs your attention. It just completely shifts the dynamic, doesn't it? From this sort of quiet post-withdrawal situation to bang, open tension.
It's a direct challenge.
Absolutely, to the Taliban government currently in charge.
Okay, so let's unpack that demand. The president wants Bagram back, clear warning issued. But what about the specifics? You mentioned bad things. How much detail did he give? Was it explicitly military or more vague?
Well, that's the interesting part, strategically. He mixed that really direct social media post with a public statement that was, demanding but also kind of cagey about how he'd enforce it. So after the post, he told reporters at the White House, and this is a direct quote, "We're talking now to Afghanistan and we want it back. And we want it back soon, right away. And if they don't do it, you're going to find out what I'm going to do."
Right. So you're going to find out. It sounds like setting a deadline without saying what happens when it runs out.
Exactly that. Because then reporters pushed him. Right. They asked the obvious question, are you going to send U.S. troops to take a base back?
And his answer?
He dodged it, said, quote, "We won't talk about that." So you get the big political splash from the threat. But the actual mechanism, especially the risk of sending troops, he keeps that deliberately fuzzy, gives him room to move politically.
Wait, so, okay. He leaves the door open for other kinds of pressure, like sanctions maybe, or diplomatic stuff.
Presumably, yes.
But he specifically shut down the direct question about military action right then and there. Does that mean he's maybe hesitant about the military option, or is it just clever talk to keep everyone guessing?
Probably a bit of both, I'd say. He's clearly staking a claim on Bagram, making it a priority. But any leader knows the world will fixate on the military possibility.
Sure.
So by shutting down that direct answer, he kind of controls the initial narrative, maybe dials back immediate panic, while still creating that underlying tension. It's about leverage.
Right, generating pressure without, starting a war on day one. That makes sense.
That distinction is really key, yeah.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit. To really get why this demand has so much heat, we need to remember 2021, that withdrawal. For anyone maybe not following this super closely, why Bagram? Why is this coming up now?
Oh, the history is crucial, because the demand seems rooted in how the base was lost in the first place. The sources consistently call the U.S. military withdrawal chaotic.
Yeah, that's putting it mildly for many observers.
Right. It wasn't some orderly handover. It was fast. Some described it as panicked, rapid exit.
And that chaos directly led to losing control on the ground.
It did. It set off a chain reaction. The U.S. lost control of its bases, Bagram included, and then the U.S.-backed government in Kabul just crumbled.
And the Taliban walked in.
Pretty much immediately. So the narrative, especially for those now demanding it back, is less we left Bagram and more we lost Bagram due to that instability.
So getting it back is maybe tied to restoring a sense of control that was lost then. Now, this isn't the first time the idea's come up, right? Didn't Trump mention it before, maybe with the UK Prime Minister?
That's right, yeah. It came up during a press briefing with Keir Starmer. So it wasn't just a random tweet this week. It seems to be part of their thinking on foreign policy.
Right.
And this leads us to the core reason why now, the justification. It's completely shifted from the old days.
How so?
For years, Bagram was all about, counter-terrorism, fighting al-Qaeda, the insurgency.
Right.
Now, the context is totally different.
It's not about terror groups anymore.
The stated reason isn't. It's about big power competition. The justification cited by Trump is needing an American base there specifically to counter its top rival, China.
Ah, okay. That's a major shift. So Bagram is being reimagined as a strategic piece on the chessboard with China.
Exactly. Its value is now being framed almost purely through that lens of U.S.-China competition in Central Asia.
But hang on, why Bagram for countering China? I mean, it's landlocked Afghanistan? Seems like a tough spot.
Yeah.
How does that specific location help against Beijing?
Well, geography is still key. Bagram's location is pretty central in a region that's really important for China's own ambitions. Think Belt and Road Initiative, which runs right through there.
Okay, proximity to infrastructure projects.
And also its closeness to China's western areas, like Xinjiang province.
Mm.
From Bagram, potentially, you could conduct high-altitude surveillance, signals intelligence, basically listen in and watch what's happening in a sensitive area for China. So having a permanent, secure U.S. base there could really complicate China's security planning for its western flank. It's like planting a listening post right on their doorstep, almost.
Okay, that makes the strategic desire clearer. But now, let's get to the really sticky part, the doing of it, the operational side. We need to go from the why we want it to the how on earth could we get it back. What's the situation at Bagram now, and what are people saying against this plan?
Right, and this is where the reality check hits hard. The opposition is significant both inside Afghanistan and from U.S. perspectives. That's the aha moment, really.
Okay, lay it out for us.
First, Afghan officials, presumably Taliban officials, have already pushed back publicly. They're not keen on the idea of the U.S. controlling Bagram again. They see it as, a sovereignty issue.
Unsurprisingly, and what about within the U.S. military planners, former officials?
Extreme caution is the vibe. Current and former U.S. officials are warning that trying to reoccupy Bagram wouldn't just look like returning, it would look like a re-invasion of Afghanistan.
Re-invasion, that's a strong word.
It is. And it's crucial. Politically, militarily, it wouldn't be seen as just picking up where they left off. It would be seen globally as America forcing its way back into Afghanistan, restarting a conflict.
And how would the rest of the world react? Allies, rivals like Russia or Iran?
Probably not well. They'd likely see it as destabilizing, pouring resources back into a place the U.S. just left. The diplomatic cost for Washington could be huge.
Okay, diplomatic cost is one thing, but you mentioned the sheer operational scale. That seems even more daunting.
It dwarfs the political cost, frankly, and this detail really highlights the problem.
Give us that number again. What kind of resources are we talking about just to secure and operate Bagram, according to these sources?
Yeah, this is the key figure from the military analysis. It's not a small team. An operation just to hold Bagram would need over 10,000 military personnel.
Wow, over 10,000.
10,000 troops plus advanced air defense systems. We're not talking about setting up a little outpost here. This is about fortifying a major air base in what's likely still hostile territory.
10,000 troops. That's like a whole division, isn't it? Deployed just to hold one base. And advanced air defense systems.
Mm-hmm.
What's that tell us about the threat they anticipate now compared to before?
It tells us they're not just worried about, potshots with rifles or basic mortars anymore. Advanced systems imply they expect more sophisticated threats, maybe cruise missiles, advanced drones, maybe even coordinated rocket attacks. Things that require serious defense tech like CRAM systems or maybe even Patriot batteries.
Which need constant support and resupply.
Exactly. And think about the logistics for 10,000 people. Fuel, food, ammo, medical, everything has to be flown or trucked into a landlocked country, potentially through contested areas. The U.S. struggled with that before the withdrawal.
That resource drain alone just seems staggering. It completely changes the math, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. The military price tag is enormous. Every soldier, every piece of equipment, every gallon of fuel needed for Bagram is potentially taken away from somewhere else the U.S. needs, forces the Pacific, Europe.
Places where the focus is already on deterring rivals like China or Russia.
Right. So the question becomes, is Bagram's potential value against China really worth starting what's essentially a brand new, incredibly expensive, logistically nightmarish operation in Afghanistan, an operation in a place they just left because it was deemed unsustainable?
That really lays bare the core tension here. You've got this political demand driven by that clear geopolitical goal countering China.
Undeniable strategic logic from that perspective.
But it slams right into this brick wall of, well, reality. The massive number of troops needed, the complex tech, the logistics, and the huge political fallout of what looks like going back in.
Yeah. The initial message is simple. We built it, give it back. But actually doing it, that's tangled up in years of neglect at the base, a changed threat environment, and that staggering resource commitment. 10,000 troops is not a small number.
So for you listening, what's the takeaway? It really boils down to this clash. the strategic prize of that base, especially with China in mind, versus the enormous cost, military, financial, political, of trying to grab it back after leaving it behind in chaos just a few years ago?
It's a calculation of need versus cost played out very publicly.
And it's a painful one. If decision makers actually consider that 10,000 troop figure seriously.
That signals a massive reversal of policy since 2021, driven purely by the China competition angle, seemingly regardless of the immediate price.
Which brings us to our final thought for you today, something to chew on. Given that need for over 10,000 troops and those advanced defenses, which suggests they expect a serious fight just to hold the place, how does that immediate massive drain on resources change the equation for leaders? Does that long-term, maybe abstract strategic value against China truly outweigh the very concrete, very high cost of launching that kind of deployment right now?
A tough question with no easy answer.
Definitely something to think about. We'll leave it there for this deep dive.